Guys, today we're going to do something fun, something silly, maybe something very controversial, and that is we're going to rank the nations from the pre-Chakrabarti era in Cardfight Vanguard. Now, why are we doing this? Because, you know, it's fun. Ranking things are fun. We want to find out which one is the best, and that's pretty much it. We can do like the overdress one at another time when they release more stuff, right? But we're doing the old one simply because they do have the most history. They have the most prestige, right? There's a lot to talk about for these nations. So yeah, guaranteed this is going to be a video full of bias. So if you guys have different opinions, let me know in the comments below, and we'll sort it out. All right, we'll discuss. We're gonna have a discussion, right? How are we gonna determine which nation is the best? Well, I'm just gonna choose. We're gonna compare a bunch of stats. We're gonna talk about stuff, and then eventually, right, we'll find out. We'll find out which one is the best. So let's kind of start off with like the nations overall. So if we look at the number of clans in a nation, United Sanctuary has the most. It has 6, and it's followed by Dragon Empire, which is 5, right? Then comes Dark Stage, which is 4, and then the last one is just like a tied 4th place with like Stargate, Megalonica, and Zoo, right? So that's kind of how it looks. The big L, right? It's a giant L. And that's how it is. So this doesn't determine if a nation is good or not, though, because, you know, we can talk about, like, you know, this nation has the most clans, but maybe those clans are just very, very bad, right? But meanwhile, you can have a very small nation, but they all have really, really good clans, right? So basically, what I'm saying is that's not Zoo. Zoo is just pretty much like dumpster fire, unfortunately. But let's just kind of talk about things they have in common. So something that's like common in terms of the nation stuff, right, is Zeroth Dragons, right? You can compare, okay, which Zeroth Dragon is really good. So United Sanctuary has a really good Zeroth Dragon. Ultima's really nice. Dust is pretty good too, right? Dust, we've seen it in action. Zoo also has a pretty good one too, right? They're somewhere there. And then Megalonica has Megiddo, really good. In terms of like, the next tier is probably like Stark, but no one really uses Stark anymore, and then Drachma as well. I think maybe Stark and Drachma is about the same. So if we look at this, yeah, these nations have really good Zeroth Dragons. If we want to talk about Progenitor Dragons, then kind of a different story. I think like this goes here. Megalonica just has the best one. Ballerina, absolute god tier. Gilgal is like okay. A lot of these just aren't played at all. Formido is used at some point, right? Agnos is like less than those two. Megaloma is like meme tier, and then the Brangate. I don't even remember the Brangate one or the Stargate one. That one is just absolute trash. But yeah, that's kind of there. And then if we want to look at like the Overtriggers, so Overtriggers are kind of from D, but they're still kind of relevant, right? They're still kind of relevant. Because they're kind of nation specific, and you know, if you want to talk about how good a nation is, right, we can talk about their futures too, right? So let's just quickly talk about the Overtriggers. So the Brandgate Overtriggers is just really good, absolute domination, I think. The United Sanctuary, Keter Sanctuary one is very good. In premium, the Dragon Empire one is really good too. Megalonica is kind of weird because it gets split, but you know, I guess, I don't know, like, apart from these 3 that are super standout, the rest is, like, kind of meh, except for, like, Bermuda, right? Bermuda gets a buff. And then in terms of, like, the rest of the futures, I think if you're in a Stoicheia nation, you just double dip in terms of power, so, like, Megalonica and Zoo, like, they're like, yeah, I get Stoicheia, I get 2, like, I get to use, like, you know, 2 kinds of, like, skills that I normally wouldn't before, and the rest can just be, like, whatever, right? That's basically it. Now, let's kind of talk about other things. How nations have performed over the years. So at the beginning of Vanguard, we have United Sanctuary and Dragon Empire. These guys, I think, were king, right? If we want to talk about the first big 3, it was Kagero, then MLBs, and Royal Paladin, and then Oracle Think Tank was somewhere there too. Phantom Blaster Dragon, or Shadow Paladin was relatively okay. But yeah, if we look at that, these 2 were pretty dominant, right? Pretty dominant for like at least until set 9, because you got Narukami. A Gold Paladin was relatively good because you got Spectral too. But yeah, these guys lasted for a very long time, through Limit Break era, normal or OG era, Break Ride era. I think if we want to think of Break Ride era, like Link Joker started getting good. Dimension Police started getting good. Unfortunately, I feel like nothing in Dark Zone was that good for such a long time. And then Zoo, yeah, let's start putting this right here. Megalonica as well, really, I guess Grand Blue started getting good at some point. Maelstrom was pretty popular, so I guess this is like kind of here. But then after we get into like Legion, like United Sanctuary is still really, Royal's really good. Shadows is still good. Wow, Genesis is still good. Like OTT kind of drops off at some point. Angel Feather kind of just wasn't really relevant that much. And then Gold was still good too. I think like United Sanctuary in the early era was just really, really dominant, you know? It's super dominant. And then like Kagura on the other hand, Kagura's like kind of okay, but it drops off slightly. And then I guess Stargate just kind of disappears. Right? And then when we start entering G, we have like the Cross being really good. And then yeah, United Sanctuary maybe drops off after that. Shadow Paladin, pretty decent at some points. Then it becomes Laward. And then this is where like, I guess where G is where like Darkstone starts picking up because you have Payomoon and DI becoming really, really strong decks. Gear Chronicle as well. It's like, G is like the Dark Zone meta. Like literally Dark Zone meta. Ever since G, Dark Zone has been like god tier, right? Super punching above their weight for like a 4-clanner deck. Nation, I mean. And then I guess Megalonica, like you got Night Rose, Aquaforce became really good too. So basically a lot of these bottom tier lists became really nice. And then Zoo kind of remained really, really bad. Stargate is also good. Like Link Joker, top tier. D-Pole and Nova kind of like were okay, but nothing too significant. I think like just from talking about this from the top of my head, we can start to put like Zoo like really down here, right? Okay, you had Great Nature at some point, was really good for Legion. Neo Nectar at some point was good. Like the Musketeer like Rush build was really nice. And then Mega Colony later on, you got Gridora, which was good. But then after that, as we enter into like the V era and into like the premium era as well, these clans kind of just drop off. Like the entirety of Zoo just disappears. So I think we can easily decide on like the worst nation just being Zoo. Like at some point Katrina came back and they became like really good. They became one of the top tier nations. But that's only one clan, right? So, okay, I think we have our worst nation already, and that is actually Zoo. Okay, Zoo is low tier, right? Low tier. So let's kind of talk about the other nations. So I think so far United Sanctuary, we've been talking a lot about United Sanctuary and how it's like it regularly has a great amount of their clans doing well. And for like a 6-clan nation, that's pretty impressive, right? For like a majority of their stuff becoming good. Angel Feather during G becomes strong too. And then, I mean, Luard comes back. That becomes a good clan. Brave was like kind of like a huge hit and miss. So that's kind of weird. But then Wiseman Loop. Oh, that's pretty good. Battle Sister Ichikishima. And then this is like a nation that's kind of like still retained relevancy for a very long time. Like Blasters, right? I mean, like Royal Blasters in G got good too. See, I feel like even Gurguit, yeah, I feel like is so I think like United Sanctuary has to be like a top tier nation. It has to be like at least in the top half, right? Because even now, when we think about like the current meta, yeah. So in premium, it's got good nations, right? No Luard still relevant, Genesis still relevant. In like V as well, like Angel Feather like dominated for a very, very long time. Luard still dominated for a very, very long time. And then like Royals, like I think the trap with the United Sanctuary is whenever you think of United Sanctuary, you think of Royals. And Royals has like been like a hit and miss. It was like a hit early on, and then it's kind of like become a miss, and then a hit, and then become a miss, right? And it's become a miss for a very long time. But then if you look at like the other nations other clans in that nation, they've all been like relatively good hits, right? Even like Gurguit, Gold Paladin. So this has to be, I think United Sanctuary has to be at least a top or a top 2 nation, right? What other thing can like kind of combat like combat United Sanctuary. I don't know. Let's kind of put it here somewhere. Let's put it near the top. Dragon Empire was also like it's a 5-clan nation. But I feel like most of the time this has been carried by Kagero and Narukami, right? And then Narukami in G was okay. It was like pretty strong. But then Nubatama became really good in G2. And then Murakumo rose to prominence like later on as well. So they've all kind of had their time in the sun. And Kagero just kind of still retains like relevancy for like a very, very long time. Tachikaze, like brief Anger Blader stint, kind of it. Yeah. Probably like the weakest link in that entire nation. But I guess here's the thing, right? Is that it feels like Dragon Empire, it's basically like, it should just be called Kagero Empire and sometimes Narukami, right? And there's been periods where, like, you know, Kagero just, I guess in Limit Break era, Kagero was good in JP because you still played the end. But, like, you know, the Narukami stuff didn't become good until, like, BTO9. So I guess, like, Kagero is definitely not as good. Well, not Kagero. Dragon Empire is definitely not as good as, like, United Sanctuary, right? So I guess this kind of has to be under United Sanctuary. Stargate, I think Stargate is actually a candidate to be like the 5th, like rank 5, like 5th out of everyone. Because when you think about it, Nova Grapplers was around for a very, very long time, and they just kind of like average, right? Kind of average. They have like really cool cards. They have Sternblock Kruger. Blouse is like really, really cool, right? Victor is cool, but they've never been like the top at all. The only thing that really carries the nation is like Link Joker, right? If we want to like, if we want to define Stargate, it is Link Joker, and then it's Dimension Police, and then it's Nova Grappler. And Nova Grappler has been around the longest, kind of least relevant. Then comes Dimension Police, kind of not that relevant for a very, very long time as well. And then Link Joker is like solo carry, right? Solo carry sometimes, but then there's those metas where Link Joker just becomes really bad. So, I guess like Stargate overall is like a rank 500. I think like these two at the bottom is pretty legit. Now we have like these two other nations though that are real big, like, how do you say it? Upstarts, right? Megalonica, Bermuda, Grand Blue, Aquaforce. Pretty average clan before G, right? Before G, they just weren't really amazing at all. All of their nations. Right, Grand Blue at some point became okay with the Legion, but that's about it. Yeah. Prism, I guess Prism was kind of cool for Bermuda, but that was about it as well. And then as like the entirety of like the game progressed through the years, these nations became way more dominant. Right, in G, you know, both these nations went from like low tier to top tier. Right. And I guess these two has kind of just stayed top for a very, very long time, right? At least for Dark Zone, when Gears was just like okay, and then became good, and like super good. And then somewhere around like when Premium hit, they kind of became like not so good. But then you can say something like Spikes became better, like GB8 Spikes became better. So there's always something carrying the nation. And then in V, right, you have like V, like DI, like Shahrad is still good. You know, Silverthorns at some point was really, really good. Yeah, I don't know. Gear Chronicle is still a relatively top. So Dark Zone basically for the last since G has just been really, really good. Right, just became better and better ever since like the second wave of G hit. Dark Zone has been like a top tier. So this is actually very scary when you think about it. And then like Megalonica is the same thing, right? When the second wave of like G kind of hit, or the mid wave of G hit, the Night Roses came out, and then like people started discovering like the Bermuda like loops and things like that. You know, this has been really, really relevant. And Aquaforce too, right? We can't forget Lambros had a huge impact on the entire scene since like set 2. So ever since G, this has been really nice. But I think here's the thing, right? I don't know. I don't know. Like, these three are so hard to put. If we want to talk about prestige, right? Prestige of the nation, and how like it's just performed for such a long time. I don't know. It's very hard to say. It's very, very hard to say. I want to put Kagura over them, but at the same time, because these have performed so well, I feel like well, I can't say Kagura, Dragon. I want to put Dragon Empire over them, but because like they've just been performing so well for such a long time, you kind of can't. You kind of can't. I think at this point, when we think about it, United Sanctuary just has to be the top, right? They've got the whole package. Even though they have 6 clans, they've always had something that was good, right? They've always had something that was good, something that was relevant. They have the history behind it. They have, like, you know, just, I mean, overall, they have Jewel Knights as well. They have Salome. She looks, Jewel Knights look the best. But yeah, they have the edginess. They have the Shadow Palace. They got everything. They've got the night. I don't know, like, everything about the United Sanctuary package has just been very strong. So I'm not seeing any of these guys beat United Sanctuary, but the second place slot seems like it is so hard to choose. It is so hard to choose. I'm actually a bit stumped. I think maybe like okay, let's just go through the clans again. So Aquaforce, Bermuda Triangle, Grand Blue. Wow. Oh, wow, that's really strong. Really strong. Gear Chronicle, Pale Moon, Dark Irregulars, Spike Brothers as well. And then this one is Kagero, Narukami, Tachikaze, Nubatama, Murakumo. I think I have to put Dragon Empire as a fourth nation. I don't know. I feel like Dragon Empire as a 4th tier nation seems so bad though. It's so bad, but if we think about it, it's like the prestige of Dragon Empire, the history of it is just carried literally just by Kagura and Narukami. That's like the like, even though Dragon Empire has been relevant for such a long time, it's only been relevant because of 2 out of the 5 clans, right? Nubatama at some point became good, but then it became bad again. Murakumo at some point became good, and then it became bad again. Tachikaze became good, and then it became bad again. 2 nations carrying the entire 2 clans carrying the entire nation. At least when we think about United Sanctuary, there's been long periods of time when every clan has like been relevant, right? And it's always been relevant. Like, sure, they have 6 clans, but it's very hard to argue when at least 2 of their clans have been top tier, and then like X of them have been really, really good in the meta. So United, no problem. Even like the lore is good. Like, they later became Keter Sanctuary. Probably the best lore out of everyone here, right? Like Stoikea, boring lore. They join forces. That's lame, dude. Keter Sanctuary, they fight. There's inequality, right? It's full on fascism, capitalism. Very interesting stuff. So, I don't know. Even the future of United Sanctuary looks bright. Maybe not bright, but interesting. And, I don't know. They revealed Tegria, like, last night. So, pretty busted. Right? Pretty busted. Dragon Empire went from, like, a cool nation to a boring nation. So, there's that. Actually, like, if we talk about, like, the future of Dark Zone, I guess Dark States is pretty cool, although all we've seen is, like, Bruce and boys, right? Bruce and friends, right? And that's, like, kind of boring, but we've seen Barrow Magnus, but, like, the lore behind, like, the future of Dark Zone is pretty cool, with, like, Gear Chronicle kind of supposed to, like, being, like, the King Dub of, like, I think, okay, so I think putting this here and then, like, Megalanica here, I think is great. Why are we putting it this way? Okay, so even though Dark Zone clans, right, have been pretty average, pre-G, right, pre-G, but we have things like Pale Moon still costing heaps of money, even though they weren't relevant. So that is more than could be said with, like, Dragon Empire, right? And then Megalanica. Maybe these can switch. Simply because this had 0 relevancy before G, right? Absolute 0 but, you know, they've been so relevant for so long, it just feels wrong. It just feels so wrong. But we can't. I think it should be like this. Okay, maybe it's like this. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. I think this is better. I think because Megalanic had zero like historical relevance before G, we put it back. We put it back a bit more, right? It had Maelstrom. That was cool. I guess it had Ripples. But Ripples was after G. So okay, yeah. So it stays back. Dragon Empire, you know, it's been chilling around for a while. So that's third place. And then Dark Zone like was relevant even though it wasn't relevant, right? I remember like the amount of edginess in this nation made people like still build it anyway. Remember when like the first Dark Irregulars came out and it was absolute garbo? Well, people still built it because it was cool. It was a cool nation. And then Pale Moon was still very, very expensive, even though it wasn't that great. So I feel like there's a lot of love behind Dark States, right? Dark Zone, right? Even when it wasn't like the best, and then when it became the best, it just stayed the best. It stayed the best. It impacted the meta in so huge ways. Every single one of its clan impacted the game so largely post G, and then it stayed relevant still past then. I think it can become the second slot. So I think that is pretty much it. I think this is the rank. This is the rank we want to go for. Top tier is United Sanctuary. Absolute dominating nation. Winning nation, the best. Literally the best. Dark Zone after that, because, you know, great clans. Hit above its weight, right? Stays relevant for a very, very long time. Great lore, great edginess. Stays true. Dragon Empire, basically just Kagura and Narukami, the clan. The nation, I guess. That's why it's at 3. Megalonica was a very, very good contender. Post G, absolute, like, pretty god tier, right? And now, like, in premium, right, we can talk about Megalonica becoming, like the best nation. Best nation in premium. In V, right, still also very good. But it just doesn't have, like, the background. The background of some of the big old clans, big old nations of the top. That's why it's in 4th place. That's the biggest difference between Megalonica and Dragon Empire, really. Otherwise, if it had like really cool stuff, we could swap these around, right? Stargate, yeah, basically carried by Link Joker. And then Zoo, basically carried by nothing, right? So that is the rank. That is the rank. I don't know how I was able to speak for 22 minutes trying to rank nations. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you agree with this list, with this rank? And I will see you guys tomorrow talking about more cool and relevant things. Bye.